So here's the other ballroom that we're gonna be filming in.
Oh hey, what's up guys? Chandler Speed here. You may know me from my dog collar review. Link in description. Wait, you're gonna link it, right? You better link it. He's gonna link it. So check that out if you haven't seen it. So what we're doing here is we have the, actually, that's a mirror. Let's see. Oh yeah. That's what that's for.
Welcome back to my production vlog. Today's episode is actually our Sweet 16. We're covering events, event coverage, long form event coverage to be exact. That means no B-roll. We are covering the speakers on stage. They may come off of stage, but we will be in a stationary position with a tripod, giving them coverage. We have audio coming straight into camera, and we will just be following them around. I just dropped off my equipment, went to park, and I'm working my way back to the hotel. That blue building right there is where the event is, and I had to park, kind of far back. It's a hot morning, but I always give myself plenty of time to get where I need to. So it's important to make sure you know where you're going. If you're not familiar with the location, try to scout it out, try to look online, try to get as much information as possible so you don't eat up your time trying to find out where you need to go. That is very important to make the client happy. So I'm setting up my tripod and all my equipment on my riser. I had the client come up to me and chit chat with me. I kept working. I didn't stop working because I knew that I wanted to get done at a certain time with my setup to give me the ability to fine tune my adjustments. So as the client was chit chatting with me, I made sure to keep working, keep setting up, just let them know, hey, I'm going to keep setting up. I don't want to get slowed down. I'm going to keep working. And that's really vital. You can see that they actually got us a bar style stool to be able to sit on when I'm not standing around. So that gives me some flexibility so then I can kind of change my body position as needed, sitting, standing, whatever's more comfortable. Sometimes they won't even bring you a chair, and doing an 8-hour day, 10-hour day, it is tough standing the whole time. All right, so here's our setup for today. We have the FX6 with the Sony 70-200. I am running an Audio Technica mic shotgun as a backup. The Atomos Shogun 7 Connect right here. And this is a Manfrotto 509 HD with the fast carbon legs. And we have two handles, dual handle for easy control, even with my dead hand. What I've done is make sure that I have hardline power for both the monitor and the camera. I have them coming up, and then I have a tension relief with the Velcro wraps right there, so I don't have to worry about them getting yanked. And then I have a bongo here tied up, so there's no yank there. So then I have full range without any tension. We have an XLR coming from the soundboard, and it's loose with no tension. And then we have the client provided a light for the stage, and that's right there. That was not set up by me. And that's the setup. And then we have my Sennheiser headphones, which are over ear. They are the HD 280 Pro. And then we have a cup holder here. So that Robo Cup ends up being perfect, so I don't have to reach to the ground for a drink. And here we go. So that's the setup. So we've got a set custom white balance. I'm going to use the rocker switch here to do it. Here we have a daylight light. We have tungsten up here. We have speaker on stage, but sometimes they'll walk down here. I don't want to have to fight moving the light. We could wash out the screen too. The client provided this light, so it's daylight only. I would probably put gel on it to match it up so I don't have to worry about it, but it's not being provided and I don't have it with me. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna custom white balance here. Chandler, my beautiful assistant's right there, and he's very orange, so we're gonna hit him with a white balance. Here we go. All right, drop it. Oh yeah, way less orange, looking good. Okay, let's move to the other one. I've got to make sure I flip the switch and adjust the ISO. Looks like I already white balanced this, but we'll give it another try. And we're perfect. So now we can just adjust. So while he's here, we're good. If we turn off this light and he's in the same spot in the orange zone, we're gonna see what we look like. Perfect. So what's really cool about working events is you come across a lot of other creatives. So there was a photographer there that I've worked with in the past. His name is Eric, and he actually came up to me, or I crossed paths with him. I actually bumped into him. He's like, whoa, who's bumping me? Realized it was me. And he told me that he actually watches the vlog, and he's a photographer, and he said he really enjoys seeing the video side of things. So that's really cool, is you're able to connect with other people in the industry. And Chandler was actually brought on. I actually brought him onto this shoot and let the client know that he also shoots on an FX6, so he was able to join us. So here's the dreaded, you step away for 5 minutes and everyone starts plugging up their phones to get them charging on your setup. So luckily with this setup, you can actually lock out the plugs with the little tabs, but sometimes that's not enough to get the message across because someone's going to start fiddling with stuff. And I don't like them messing with my power or having anyone connected to it, because I've had it right in the middle of me filming an SEO or CEO, sorry. Someone's come up and actually unplugged the camera to plug in their cell phone. And I'm like, you just unplugged the camera and this is what I need to capture this event. And they go, I don't care, I need to charge my phone. I've had that happen, and I've had to start filming to say, hey, this is what happened. I didn't cut the camera off. Someone came up and unplugged it. And that's just how selfish people are. So I actually put tape on here, did a little bit of overlap so I could peel it off real easily. And I left one slot open so I could actually connect my phone and charge it and make sure no one else is connected. So that's vital sometimes. Today is the third and final day of filming this conference. We'll be filming from 10 to 2, and then we'll be wrapping things up, tearing down, pulling some cables, and that will do it for us. It was a long 2 days. Today's gonna be a little bit shorter, but always exciting to do these long form conference type of events. Pretty simple, straightforward. You just gotta be prepared. So this is how we left it last night. Pulled camera. I left XLR, AC power for monitor and camera down below. So that's all there. Left my 2 cards to shoot on today. And here's a little better look of the tripod setup. Have 2 handles ready to go. I think it's locked. Let me unlock it. There we go. And makes it real easy to operate, especially when you're sitting here. You can control everything from this point, depending on what they're doing. And if you need to tilt down, let me unlock. It gives me that flexibility. So shooting long form can be really strenuous on your body. You go from standing to sitting to try to adjust for it. But what I would recommend is between shooting, stretch out, do everything you can, move around, because you're going to be in a position like this for sometimes an hour to 2 hours. I'm tapping focus right there to capture the person moving around. The client wanted us at f2.8, so really shallow. And if they're moving around in a crowd of people, it can be difficult. And we're not really set up with fly-by-wire lenses to be able to get good focus, because you could, turn it a little quicker one time or a little less and you're going to be off. So the autofocus on the Sony's really saved us. But back to just posture and positioning, you want to make sure that you're comfortable. You see my hands are really low. I'm not really high up holding my hands high, so I'm more relaxed. But yeah, some of these people, they move around quickly. They move around a lot, and you can see the camera's making a lot of movement here, and you've got to keep up with that. You got to make sure that you're in focus and that you're getting good framing. Sometimes you have to widen up the frame and shoot a little wider because they're moving so quickly. You don't want to be tight on someone's, head and they're moving around really fast. It's going to be too jarring to the viewer as well. And we only had one camera in each room. So it made it difficult to, get a perfect frame. You just sometimes had to widen it up. If you could see this one, the person is from head to, toe on the shot. I did move to sitting because I was able to sit in this position and still be able to get the movements. And that's the thing, is just adapting, sitting, standing. But when you're sitting or standing or changing, you've got to be very aware, because on this riser, it's a single riser. And what that means is where I'm standing on it, anywhere, the camera's going to feel those vibrations. So just be very cautious of that, because it could result in a shake in the footage. So sometimes on bigger events, they'll have two separate risers, one for person sitting and operating the camera, and then one for the camera itself to prevent the shake. So just be very cautious of that when you're doing these types of events, especially zoomed in at 200. So it was really noisy. Everyone was packing up. I tried capturing audio and explaining everything, but it just didn't work out. So this is me packing out my bag. This is the shape bag that I use. I have two of them, but I'm showing you could actually get a 70 to 200 in there, and a battery, and slide it right in for shooting events or shooting whatever you need to, and it could just flop right in. I separate out the lens a lot of times because I just don't like it to get roughed up or manhandled at all. And then I have the ability to have the pockets there on the back side, so you see the 70 to 200 we put in there, and then we also put a backup lens in there. This is my HDMI cable. I'm showing how lightweight it is and how flexible it is. Headphones go in and they just slide into the side there to give it a little bit of a cushion. And I just really like to have things in the same place all the time, if possible. So these are my AC power adapters that are going in the bag, and I always have them in there for the monitor and for the camera itself. And then I have that cube tap to give me some extra power sources if needed, because they actually only ran one cord to me. If I didn't bring my power strip, I could have used the cube tap. And phone charger goes in there. Always have that as a backup. Balancing the camera, you got to make sure that whenever you land on whatever you're filming, it doesn't move. So a lot of times your tension will be off, it'll be loose. You see it moving right now. It's back heavy, really bad. So when you go and you land on your subject, if you ever want to let go of your hands, it's going to move. So you've got to make sure you balance it. So it's just like a seesaw. Here's going to be the center, and then you adjust it so you can balance it. So there's one there, it's still going back. And you could do this many different ways. You could slide it forward, or you could add weight front to back and stuff. Like if I needed more weight back here, I'd put a V-mount back here to give me more weight. So now it's pretty close, almost holding, and then I'm gonna want the tension up a little bit so I can get smoother movements. So now when I land on something, it's still going slightly back, so I'm gonna push it just a little bit more forward. I have a little bit of wiggle room right there. There we go. Let's see how that goes. So now I land on something and it pretty much stays. I land on something and it stays. So then I have free flexibility. I have two long handles, they're really low. If you have them up high here or up here, when you're sitting down with the chair forward, or if you're have a long day and you're shooting an hour or 2 hours, your arms will get tired being up here. So the lower the better. So you have them low here, and then you have the ability to have a lot of control and flexibility. You could let go of one hand, do one-handed, alternate. You could change settings with one hand. So it gives you a lot of flexibility. So longer arms are always good. So you can adjust, and then a good heavy-duty tripod. Don't push it to the limits. This Manfrotto is okay. The only problem is it uses a paste for the fluid head function. There's not true fluid. So sometimes when you start off, it kind of sticks, jolt. So it's not the best one, but yeah, everyone has their own style. I like it to be a little bit stiffer rather than super loose, because I don't want it to be really loose. And this is what I mean when it's loose, like just barely push it and it moves. Some people like that. Others want a little bit of tension, so it takes a little more effort. So then when you slow down, you kind of come to a slow stop. Makes it a lot easier that way. I went ahead and moved the EVF LCD screen to the back here, so I have access to it, so I can actually reach it here. And then on my screen here, I actually have a few things. I have lower thirds, or rule of thirds grid here. And then I also have safety margins here. So the grid there helps me place someone, and if the subject is kept in here, when they start to move and they start getting close here, I'll move it one way. They go to the other way, I'll move it the other way. So I try to keep them there, and that's like my starting and stopping point. As soon as their head hits this, I know I gotta start moving. As soon as their head hits here, I gotta start moving. If they stay in that range, they're good. So there's that, and then these are my safety margins. So I know how much headroom I have, so I don't accidentally make the mistake of going too close to the top and cutting their head off. So I put these in and that, and it ends up working really well to have some flexibility. And that is how I'm able to last a lot longer and focus really well on what's going on. Sometimes people like to put a crosshair in the middle. That's a little harder to judge because they may be leaning a little bit, they may be turned sideways, and that can throw you off. So that's a really good point. And I like to keep their head kind of right there in that range when we're doing things. And then from there, I have a bongo tie here holding this cable here, which is the AC power for the camera and the monitor. So then I give it enough slack so I can move around a lot without anything catching. If I didn't have enough slack there, I could start catching on it and it becomes an issue. This prevents it from also yanking out and getting unplugged. I could pull on this easily. And then over here, I have headphones. I have over ear so I'm not distracted by the audience or anyone else around. Put them over the ear and I can hear nice and clear. And we have an XLR feed coming straight from the board, and then also has tension relief. There's a lot of slack in it, so it's not yanking hard on it and creating any issues. And it also has the ability to move freely and out of the way. And then I put a lens support on. I'm using a 70-200. Lens support's there. And then I do take off the stabilization, because the stabilization, when you're moving and you're stopping, you'll kind of have a yo-yo effect, and it'll kind of stabilize itself at the end of it. This is on a tripod. We have it very smooth, so when we land, we want it to stop. When we go to a spot, we want it to stop, and this gives us that ability by having that off. Aside from that, with the FX6, we're able to touch to focus. So here we are right here, and I was able to just tap to focus, and right now it just caught focus. I was able to track our subjects that way, so it made it real easy. No worry about focusing constantly and on people that are walking around everywhere. Aside from that, that's the setup. I have my monitor back here, which is the Shogun 7 Connect, and it's connected back here, giving it counterbalance, preventing it from being up here to be, tilting up, especially when you're sitting down. You want to be able to sit down for whatever you're doing. You may not be doing as big of movements, and you can sit down here and it's right in front of your face instead of tilting up. Gives you a little privacy too, because when you have it up high, people start looking over your shoulder here. It's kind of a lot nicer, and you could always put a hood over it to prevent people from staring at it. So yeah, this makes it easy. So you could be one-handed right here, moving like this, and me with my dead hand, I still have the ability to make adjustments and move accordingly one-handed if needed, and have a lot of control. Even if I had to go really far to the side, I could still do it sitting down. So throughout the day, I like to alternate between sitting and standing, just because I like to not be seated the whole time. This gives me the ability to move all the way around, get anyone I need to, and then be, slow and steady. But one of the major things when you're on these risers is they have a lot of shake. So you've got to be careful. Some places will actually have separate risers. You'll have one riser for the camera and one riser for you. So they'll put a gap between them so you won't end up shaking it. You can move around as much as you want, and there's that gap. This one's connected, so every little movement does translate to the camera and to the footage, especially when you're zoomed in at 200 millimeter. That ends up causing some jitters and shakes, so you got to really pay attention to that. The only other thing I'd like to bring up is composition and framing. Is sometimes it's not good to be super tight. If you have a very active person, if you're trying to get them like this tight on a 200, it's going to be very jarring. Just go ahead and widen it up and give them that movement to move. A lot of times people stay in a certain area and they'll move 4 feet one way, 4 feet the other, and just kind of keep in that area. If you widen it up, you're not going to be moving as much. No one wants to watch something that's moving this fast, not even sports. It's just too jarring. So that's why they cut to wider shots and other angles. They don't want to be right on it. You don't watch NFL, baseball, or anything, and they're like this tight on the person the whole time while they're moving. It's just impossible. Documentary, yes, but live sports, no. So yeah, that's the extent of it. That's the setup. If you have any questions, drop them down below. Thank you for watching this latest episode of the vlog and sticking with the channel. And if you have any other questions or want to, see something in the next episodes, let me know. Thank you.
Talk about jarring. That was an 8-minute clip, and I was sitting here with his phone above my head, shaking.
What did I tell you? Lower it, lower it, lower it. There you go. That'd be easier, you see?
Shoulders are burning.